Hi YouTube. It has been a minute and this is long overdue. I've had a lot of questions about my pregnancy overview, essentially, given all the details, how it went, how I felt. It's been a minute. My baby is now over 9 months, so I don't know how much information I'm going to remember and retain, but I will share the gist of it and how it went for me. So to give some background, I was diagnosed with lupus in 2008 when I was 14, so I was pretty young. I've had lupus for quite some time now, and I knew that it would be difficult to have children. It was always on my mind. My husband knew that when we got together, when he married me, all the above. So we knew that going into it, and really there was no rush to have children. It was something that I did want to do. I wanted to have a baby. It made me excited, like I felt there was some purpose in it for me. So yeah, I wanted to see if that could happen. So about 2 years before I got pregnant, maybe even 3 years before I got pregnant, I was going to a certain rheumatologist and he told me probably not a good idea for me to get pregnant. And this was because I was high risk due to the hemolytic anemia. And I was like, okay, so I guess he's not even going to consider that an option for me. So I decided to switch rheumatologists because I didn't feel that was the right advice. I feel like just because you have lupus, there are risks, but it is possible. And to me, that felt like he was shutting down my case, even though my biggest risk is the hemolytic anemia. I don't have any other organ involvement. I have mainly fatigue, joint pain. I get muscle weakness, things like that. Like I've had other things that were troublesome because of the lupus. I've had shingles plenty of times. I've had pleurisy. I've had costochondritis. I've had a lot of things with the lupus, but nothing that I felt like I couldn't physically have a baby. So I went to another rheumatologist, got a second opinion, and she said, yes, you can have a baby. And my hematologist said, yes, you can have a baby. So she worked on getting me off of that medication, said it's best to wait a year so weaning off the medicine and then waiting a year after being off of it. If you look online, it's more like 6 months, but we wanted to be very, very, very safe because I was on Cellcept at the time and I switched to Miron. She said, all right, let's see, and I was just like, I'm not sure if it's the time, but I want to be safe, and we kind of are thinking about it, so let's just be safe and get off that medicine. And that's what we did. I want to say a year and a half after coming off of Miron, off of Cellcept, I decided I was ready and had Sandra. For me, I did not have any issues with fertility. I was very blessed in that, and didn't have to worry in regards to that. It very, very smooth process. I became pregnant and automatically went to my OB and then got a referral to a high-risk OB as well. And that was a process. So getting into the high-risk OB was very easy. If you have lupus or Sjögren's as well, you're going to be seeing them a lot. So it was, I think in the beginning, 2 times a month, maybe 1 time in the first trimester, having trouble remembering. But things were great. Baby looked great. She looked healthy. She was always healthy. Heart looked great. I felt overall, I had all the normal stuff, morning sickness, but I felt good overall, other than the morning sickness. And you are very tired, but this might sound weird. I feel like the lupus prepared me for having a baby, for being pregnant. I feel like in a way, the symptoms and how tired you feel and just how your body feels like crap every day prepared me for how pregnancy felt. And to me, I was like, maybe my pregnancy was easy. It's quite possible, but I also felt like I was so used to pain that it was easy for me. Like, this is a breeze. Like, this is easier than a flare. That's how I felt, because my body essentially did really well while I was pregnant. I did not have any inflammatory markers. I felt really good. It's the best I've felt since 2019, I want to say. I believe I was in clinical remission in 2019. It was great. I had all the regular things. Second trimester was a dream. I didn't have any symptoms other than my growing belly and maybe a few things here and there, but I felt great. I really felt great. I just took Unisum the whole pregnancy for morning sickness, and that was that. And then come third trimester, a bit of a different story. You start getting like, okay, I'm big now. Like you can feel how heavy the baby is and what you're carrying around, and it's a lot of work. And then it starts wearing and tearing on you. My ankles were getting swollen from the baby and things like that, all normal pregnancy symptoms. At 22 weeks, I did have a shortened cervix, which is a bit troublesome, and probably I've had LEEP procedures in the past. Most likely that caused it. So I was put on bed rest, and at the time I was working a lot. So I had to go on bed rest for work as well and just be cautious at that point. And it was fine. I didn't mind it, but I was a little bummed because I was doing Pilates up until that point. I just felt like the healthier that my body could be, the more physically prepared, the better that labor was gonna go. They continued to check that. I think at that point, by 22 weeks, I was going in every week for an ultrasound, and twice a week for, I'm forgetting what it's called, but where they check the baby's heart rate. So I did that twice a week, and then an ultrasound once a week. It was very busy. I had 3 doctor's appointments a week just for the baby. But baby was perfectly healthy. They have to be cautious of the baby's heart, so they were constantly checking that. She had no issues. Everything was great. So there's a lot of fear around lupus and pregnancy, and it felt great. It was wonderful. I loved being pregnant. I would do it again if it wasn't for labor. So getting into that part, by 28 weeks, they took me off of, no, 32 weeks, they took me off of bed rest. And they said that things are okay. I was in the clear. Basically, baby could come. Ideally, they didn't want her to come that early, but if she did, it was gonna be okay. So they took me off. Everything was great. I made it all the way until my induction date, which was at 37 weeks. So at 37 weeks, they had me come in, and they actually were full, so they told me not to come in, and then we had to wait for the call. So that was an anxious time. I was ready to go, but everything worked out. We got in, and overall the process was not bad. They had me do, I'm trying to remember the name of it, and then I was put on Pitocin for the induction. Overall, my labor took 28 hours, but pushing only took about 15 to 20 minutes. Yeah, I was ready. I was like, get this baby out of me. I'm ready to see her. I'm exhausted. I'm hungry. Everything. Actually, the labor wasn't that hard. Like, essentially, the contractions are hard, okay? Don't get me wrong. But like the anticipation and everything, you're excited. You're like ready to go. So that helps. But the contractions are, I was like, give me that epidural stat. Like now, and I had to wait an hour for it. Sorry, I'm filming. I don't know, but it was the rest of that pre-made we opened. I got an epidural. I asked for it stat, and it ended up taking an hour for the anesthesiologist to get there. My husband was trying to get him, and then he was like, oh, I got one more room first. Oh my God. I was ready. That was so painful. I had back labor, but once the epidural hit, I was so happy. It was needed, okay? I don't know how, women are so powerful. I don't know how you all survive that, but I needed that epidural. I was like, I've been in enough pain throughout my life. I will reward myself here. And everything went great. So I did use up, it took a while for me to get to 10 centimeters. So I did have to get him to do a second fill of the epidural. But once that was done, we were good. We were sliding through and I got to pushing. I did not feel a thing. I didn't even really feel pressure. That's, I think, why it happened so fast, because I was just like, push. And they actually had me wait while the doctor could get there, because she wasn't even on her way yet, even though she was close. And yeah, so I waited, and now Sunny has a nice little red mark on her nose from sitting in my canal. But she came out, she was perfectly healthy, she was beautiful, everything looked great. I was exhausted, absolutely the most exhausted I've ever been in my life. And also I tore and she cut me. I had a episiotomy as well. And the worst part of the whole process, the worst. I'm not gonna talk that down. The bleeding, all these things I did not expect. I did not know that you get contractions when you first pump. So I continued to request medication throughout the process. I was in a lot of pain. I had really bad hemorrhoids as well. So it was very painful, but luckily my husband was on it. He was wonderful. He took care of the baby throughout the night so I could rest and get my sleep, because I had only been on 2 hours of sleep, I think, within 48 hours. So another recommendation, if you have lupus and you're trying to be very prepared, make sure your partner is aware of that too, of how exhausted you will be and that you're gonna need the help. Even with the baby now, he takes her first thing in the morning so I can sleep. And then I take her most of the day while he's working, because I only work part-time, but he takes her every morning and I get my sleep. And I feel like I would have such a hard time if that wasn't possible. So that's how everything went. Baby's heart was wonderful. She did great. She is perfectly healthy. I am doing good overall. I did end up pumping. I didn't breastfeed. I breastfeed a little bit, but overall I ended up exclusively pumping for a while. And now we're on formula at 9 months. We started that at around 6 months. It did keep my symptoms away, and then about a month or two after that, my symptoms came back. So I do have joint pain, but it's nothing crazy. Like, I don't have to be on prednisone, but I do have some joint pain overall. So that's where I'm at. I love being a mom. It's great. It's wonderful. It's my favorite thing. I love my daughter so much. Let me know what else you'd like to see. I'll try to hop on here and there. I'll try to do some vlogs, maybe shorts. But I just wanted to give that update. I know some people have been wanting to hear it, so thanks for listening.